All right, today we are going to read a story called How Long Is It? This is learning to measure with non-standard units. Remember, we talked about that in our lesson plan. A standard unit is going to be like a ruler or a tape measure. A non-standard unit can be anything of the same size. So if you have goldfish crackers and they're all the same size, you can line them up and use those. You can also use like a DVD case because all DVD cases are about the same size. Anything that's the same size, you can use that as a non-standard unit. So we're going to learn about that today. This story is by Elizabeth Kernan. And just looking at the cover of our story and seeing a couple of the pictures on the inside, can you tell me whether it's going to be fiction or nonfiction? If you said the genre is nonfiction, you are correct because these pictures were taken with the camera of real things. Let's get started. Our first page says, "How long is my desk?" I use things at school to find out. And if we were at school, we would use things that we had at school to measure our desks. But since we're at home, we can't use our desk because it's not with us. And we might not have paper clips like this or counting cubes. So we're going to have to use other things. But these are still non-standard units. Non-standard units can be crayons as long as each one is the same size, paper clips as long as each one is the same size, blocks, and pencils as long as they're the same size. My desk is as long as 12 paper clips. You're going to notice that they use these paper clips to measure the length of their desk. When we measure length, it's very important that we put the end of our tool that we're using to measure on the very end of the tool or the object that's being measured. Then you're going to notice that we line them up straight in a straight line, and notice there's no gap in between the paper clips. They are touching. Are they overlapping where they're on top of each other? No, they're not. They are just very closely together and in a straight line. And if we counted those, we would see that it took 12 paper clips to measure the length of this desk. My desk is as long as 7 crayons. So crayons can be a way to measure using non-standard units. Again, you guys are going to notice that all these crayons are brand new. So they're all the exact same size. And you're going to see that it is lined up to the end of the object. And notice, are the crayons overlapping? No, they're just touching each other. And there are 7 crayons that cover the length of that desk. That's funny because there were 7 crayons and on this page there were 12 paper clips. So I wonder, why are there more paper clips than crayons? I want you to think about that, and we're going to keep reading and then we're going to come back and answer those questions. My desk is as long as 3 pencils. Notice these are brand new pencils. They've never been used. So they're all the exact same size. Notice again how when we measure, we line the end of our measuring tool, the pencil, with the end of our object that's going to be measured, like this desk. And there were only 3 pencils for this. So there were 7 crayons and there were 12 paper clips. That's really unusual. I'm really going to have to think about that. Why are there so many paper clips and so few pencils? My desk is as long as 10 blocks. Oh my goodness, look at there. You know, these kind of remind me of Legos. Could Legos be a non-standard unit of measure? They sure can, as long as they're all the exact same size and the exact same length. Let me ask you this, does color matter whenever you're measuring? No, color doesn't matter. It just matters if it's the exact same size. Again, look at there. They measured putting the end of our tool with the end of our object. Does the red go on top of the yellow? Nope. They are lined up. They're touching each other, but they're not overlapping. They're lined up just right all the way across to the very end. How long is your desk? Well, they want you to measure your desk, and even though we can't measure our desks right now because we're not at school, there are lots of things at your house that you can measure using non-standard units of measure. So let's go back to in our story. We saw that there were 12 paper clips. Why do you think that there were 12 paper clips and only 7 crayons? You know what? When I look over here at our first page, these paper clips, they're smaller than the crayons. So that means it's going to take more of these and less crayons to measure the exact same desk. So if I said that it's 12 paper clips long and 7 crayons long, I'm right, because it is. But those are not the same units. Those are not going to be the same length. So that's why it took more paper clips than crayons. And that brings us to another good point on our pencils. It only took 3 pencils and it took 10 blocks. Why do you think it took less pencils than it did blocks? If you said that a pencil is longer, you're right. It takes fewer or smaller pencils, smaller number of pencils, than blocks because the blocks are smaller. They're not near as long. Very interesting. When you are out measuring things in your house, make sure that you note that, okay? Is it going to take more if an object is smaller? Is it going to take less if it's bigger? And try to write that down in your journal because that's very interesting to me. And remember, these are all non-standard units of measure. They're non-standard because the numbers are different, because it only took 3 pencils and 7 crayons. It's the same desk. The desk didn't change, but the units of measure did, because one was shorter and one was longer. Thanks. Have a great day.